Most founders think growth comes from louder marketing or one lucky investor intro. But in healthcare, the biggest wins often come quietly by solving painful workflow problems so well that the market cannot ignore you. Today's guest, CEO of Xealth, McSherry, did exactly that, building a platform trusted by leading healthcare system and ultimately acquired by Samsung. Healthcare entrepreneurs, are you ready to rewrite the rules for your business so you can have more time off, a great team, and more income while creating a positive social impact? Then you are in the right place. Welcome to the Provider's Edge. I'm your host, Sabrina Runbeck. I'm a provider, an international peak performance keynote speaker, and a best-selling author. Let's open the gateway to profitability for you today. My guests and I help healthcare entrepreneurs and startup founders like you break through barriers so you can control your business, control your life, and control your future. This is your defining moment to be a disruptor in healthcare. I hope that every year we have all the innovations, leaders, founders, creators, and all the investments coming together to think about what can we change? What can we collaborate on? There's so many things we can do, but there's only so much we can do together. So let's be focused and then create and have fun while we're in the process. So we have Michael here with us. What really brought you to Xealth this year?
Well, we work with a number of hospital systems in the country, and then we integrate third-party digital health applications or remote patient monitoring devices, or even services such as like Uber rides or meal delivery for patient care. So we work with a broad range of partners in the ecosystem, and this obviously is a great venue for that. I'm also excited that Samsung just bought our company, and we announced it on Friday of the completion and close of the transaction. So we roll straight into Xealth, and we get to see all of the partners and tell them about the vision of what Xealth and Samsung will be creating together.
Yeah, exactly. It's that's the build up, right? That's the moment that we build something, people really believe in it. Now bigger companies are jumping on because they see the vision of what could be, right?
Yes.
So that being said, what would the next year look like for you guys?
So thrilled by Samsung, global partner, global aspirations, but for the next year, Samsung's coming up to Seattle. That's where our headquarters are. They're flying in 20 people from Korea and around the US, and then they're going to present to all of our employees on what their vision of how healthcare will change the world and Samsung's role, why they wanted to buy Xealth to complement that vision. And then we're having a party and a celebration. So, a little pause in the activity, but then it's going to blend into operational planning and tech planning and strategy and sales and marketing. So, it's going to be operational planning for what we're going to accomplish. Yeah, again, what Xealth does is we let clinicians prescribe relevant digital health applications to patients. So we're deeply embedded in the medical record. So instead of a patient, receiving a med, they receive a suggestion that they should download this app that'll help them manage their pregnancy or their diabetes or their mental health, or this device will help remotely monitor their blood pressure, their weight. And so we integrate all these different third-party applications and vendors and services that provide this asynchronous or remote care for the patients. And then we integrate all that data to come back into the medical records for doctors and hospital systems to remotely monitor and intervene. So we will sign more hospital customers. We will launch more partners. Why Samsung bought us is they see their watch, their ring, increasingly playing a role in clinical care. They're getting more and more FDA designations for AFib detection, sleep apnea detection, hypertension monitoring. And the more clinical these capabilities came, the more they realized, hey, we're no longer just a consumer company, we're a clinical company. We need some partner to help us integrate to the medical records and the workflow and the hospital systems. So they found Xealth, we negotiated, and here we are today. So very excited.
Yeah, I think that's the power of those amazing collaborations. They are a big company, they're about creating the right devices, but the device, when we have an implementation and indication of how patients are really using it,
it's easy, convenient for them.
Right.
And how do we then leverage these data that the healthcare workers care about? Yes, if we recommend a device, I have been on those calls too, calling my patient to be, hey, we really think you should have a remote monitoring device at home, check your blood pressure, check some rhythm and pulse ox. And then some people really is that pushback is like, oh, you're making me do work, right? And versus others like, oh, I would love that, right? I want to know these data points.
Right.
So we're really catering to now people who are already in that same mindset without extra education. They're doing it anyway. Why not give the right data back to the clinical team so they can help facilitate, especially that preventative side, right? Maybe 1 or 2 times your heart rate goes up, it's not that big deal. But if you're consistently doing it, perhaps the SVT, perhaps the AFib, we then can help to trigger those additional assessment and treatment plans.
Exactly. And also one of the benefits that Xealth has is when we're in the prescribing workflow, we know why the clinician might want to care about someone's pregnancy. So you're only monitoring the fetal or the blood pressure and the scale weight. Or if someone's discharged from post-surgical recovery, you might need them to know about the number of steps they have to do to stay on their PT regimen or protocol. So when you're in the prescribing, you already know what it is you're trying to monitor on behalf of that patient. So then the fidelity of the data that you're bringing back and the alerting mechanism is very, very pertinent to what that clinician wants to do in terms of remotely monitoring that patient.
Yeah, it's definitely about not just the detection part, it's you already can attach to this treatment workflow. I think that's many people's challenge is, oh, we can create a care plan, but who's actually ensuring these things that happen?
Right.
And now you guys have these apps and recommendations so people can be very specific in what they need to do for the next phase of treatment without having to have additional nurses and MAs have to call them at home, check on them, and also potentially decrease the amount of calls clinicians take when in the middle of the night, if we didn't have any monitoring, you really don't know what is that acuity of the state.
Exactly. So again, some of the benefits that Xealth has and the connectivity we have to the medical record, we do a lot of depression screens with patients delivered through mental health apps. And a PHQ-9, you know what that is, like the questionnaire that asks the patient. One of the questions is, are you feeling suicidal? And that has a different escalation acuity than, I'm not feeling well today kind of a question. So again, we remotely monitor a variety of different patient-generated data, device-generated data, and the acuity level of that can trigger a number of different escalation interventions depending upon the severity of that data coming back.
Yeah, that's amazing. So it seems like you guys are already very interconnected into the hospital system. Is that the growth plan is getting into more hospital where we're starting expanding other channels?
Yeah, we work with dozens of hospital systems, and it's like Providence and UPMC and Advocate and Mass Gen Brigham and Banner and Duke, Stanford. So big academics. We're working with a number of cancer care centers, Dana-Farber, City of Hope, and even pediatric hospitals, so specialty hospitals. With Samsung, I hope to be ubiquitous. I would like to be default infrastructure. I don't know if you're familiar with SureScripts, the e-prescribing platform for medications.
Yep.
We would like to be as ubiquitous as SureScripts, but for prescribing digital activity on behalf of hospital systems. So that's our ambition and that's our goal. And Samsung is going to help propel towards that.
That's amazing. And so I also like to ask a fun question. If we give you a magic wand, and the magic wand grant you 3 wishes to get you to that ambiguous everything digital recommendation, how would you use those 3 wishes?
Great question. 1, I would love to see Medicaid and Medicare reimbursed for digital health. I saw the stat that 95% of all Fortune 500 companies have digital mental health applications available for their employees. It's proving beneficial, it's proving economical. The immediacy versus trying to schedule a 6-month out, mental health professional appointment provides benefit. Yet for your most vulnerable patients, your Medicaid, that might be transportation challenged or taking time off from work or physically challenged. Medicare, same challenges, different, implications. Why is it that they don't have access to these mental health tools? Why is it they have to schedule the face-to-face visits? So reimbursement for Medicaid and Medicare. I truly think that a national healthcare ID might simplify a lot of device connectivity and app connectivity and EHR connectivity and broker the data interoperability that would make a more seamless healthcare experience more prevalent. And then lastly, if we execute on the vision with Samsung, we're going to achieve it ourselves. So I'm thrilled to be partnered with Samsung. I was in the mobile industry for almost 20 years prior to this. Samsung was an investor and on my board of my last company. And our software was deployed ubiquitously on every single Samsung device globally. I would like to be part of Samsung's global healthcare footprint and achieve that level of scale with this new partnership and relationship with Samsung.
What Mike just shared is a masterclass in building what healthcare actually needs, not just what sounds exciting in a pitch deck. Xealth growth because they solved workflow friction, connected real patient data back to the clinicians, and made digital care easier to use. Founders listening right now, that's your reminder. Adoption happens when innovation fits naturally into how care is already delivered. Before we jump into the second two-thirds of our conversation, let's take a quick pause and share something that might be very useful for many of you out there right now. Those who has a great idea and then want to make sure that they are actually able to have a sellable product, or those who are already fundraising and needing help to be in front of investors and experts that can support them, come to Pitch to Yes live diagnostic workshop, where we have mix of founders, investors, and operators in the room to help you to see if your idea is really hot or not, and we help you to break down the best pitches in the 10-point scale and rewrite for you. Go to pitchtoyes.com to register for the next event.
Yeah, that's exciting, right? It's giving more access by tapping more into the Medicare, Medicaid population. They are already in the round of wanting to serve, right? With the reimbursement on remote monitoring and whatnot. But also, how do we expand that, right? To be more accessible. And then the second thing in terms of, leveraging Samsung, they will come in with their whole team, right? Really thinking about what that 10-year vision, 5-year vision, and then grow into the omnipresent of a solution, right? And the second thing you said, I forgot for brief.
National Patient ID.
Yes, ID, which I think there are solutions nowadays, too many point of care, right? That's the challenge, is they build their own EHR system for collecting these data, but they don't necessarily sync into the EHR that's already existing.
Right.
So then it feels like, as clinician myself, I have to log into this portal, that portal, just to get data. Or they're like, oh yeah, we'll just fax the data over. Then I'm like, oh my God, now you're creating more work for them to scan it and put in a special folder. It's now innate into the system that how we see trends, right? So I think that for sure with the national patient ID of not just the Epic have the community where now I can see different hospitals record, but what if it's a Sorin? What if they have a completely different thing of HCA hospital, completely different, right? So how do we get the right data no matter where patients are, and having them have the power of those data and to even participate in other researches if they so desire to.
Well said, yes, absolutely agree. And Samsung is committed to a healthier, more connected healthcare future. And over 70% of US homes have a Samsung device, a TV, a refrigerator, a washing machine, air conditioner.
I have my Samsung phone.
And into that vision, Samsung is going to connect all those to relevant healthcare experiences for fall risk detection or healthier eating or nudging and guiding towards behaviors. And so I think Samsung is going to play an increasingly pervasive role in healthcare in our lives. And that's a good thing from what I've seen on their vision and commitment towards healthier ecosystem for all.
Yeah, it's all about what's already existing. How do we maximize the existing product and services and tap it back into what we can build, right? Connecting all the dots and vision together. So it's no longer, I'm building this. What does that truly mean for the patient individual, right? And like small things like when they have the Samsung fridge where you can tap, you can now see everything in your fridge. Instead of people opening up the fridge and staring at it for 10 minutes and then the fridge beep at you, right?
So you know it,
making those better healthy choices. So it's exciting to be in that round of creation and make things exciting. Now, my passion is always having more clinicians, especially female, to take those board roles, the investment roles, because when we're engaged in the forefront of creation, then we are easier to adapt because it's already embedded in how they think about the workflow and how they would recommend this recommendation for the patient, right? At the end of the day, and they always check with your providers, right? So that's my personal mission. So when I'm always engaging with you guys who already build these things, we're always like, so what would be something you will ask about our medical community, right? Those of us who truly believe in change, taking on the roles, how can we be more helpful?
Open to change. There's too much governance and process and hesitancy, and the world is moving so quickly in terms of AI. It may not be a stretch. Samsung might not agree with me making forward-leaning statements like this, but the watch, the ring, the wearable, the patch, the phone in your pocket, they're all going to increasingly have a tell that something is not right with your health. And it's going to notify you to do something about that. And you're essentially going to have a doctor in your pocket that's going to have an AI chatbot that's going to like try and triage. It might lead to an urgent care scenario. It might lead to scheduling a specialist, visit. It might lead to telehealth kind of offerings. But that world is coming, and providers need to embrace and incorporate that into their planning of how healthcare is going to be delivered in the future here in this country and in the world. And I'm excited by that, and I strongly believe in that. I've been always in my career tech forward, tech optimist, and I think that it's going to improve lives and save costs. And I would encourage providers to think expansively on what this world can do in care delivery and cost reductions.
Yeah, I think we definitely have a large body of clinicians who believe in that. And then they do see is they're reducing amount of work they want to do, they just don't have the time to do. And then therefore it actually does increase the referral back, right? Because if it's already triage, it's already recommended, that means we can now see some of the patients that we might not even know they needed it. And then that will reduce the amount of primary care burdens when it comes to they are so tapped out on amount of patients that are already sick, right?
Yes.
So how do we help them to get through that process quicker, to have the right recommendation, treatment plans, and to come back to the same system?
Well, and I'm sure you're seeing the ambient listening and the capabilities and the burnout reduction that's achieving for a lot of providers and clinicians. And Samsung makes a lot of those phones capturing that, predict there'll be glasses in the future that also play a role into that. And if you expand that ambient listening to camera detection and other ambient listening capabilities, Samsung makes all of those devices. So I think you're going to see Samsung playing an increasingly strong role in ambient listening for both inpatient scenarios and doctor-clinician relationship, as well as bridging into the home that has its own remote monitoring capabilities and can be guides towards wellness and healthier living, as well as notifications for increased clinical interventions when needed for certain patients.
What I love about this part of our conversation is the bigger vision. Healthcare does not need more disconnected tools. It needs connected experiences. Mike shared how everyday devices, AI, and smarter workflow can reduce burnout, guide patients earlier, and help clinicians focus where they are needed most. For founders listening, the opportunity here is simple. Build technology that removes friction and fit into the real life. Now, here is another opportunity for all of you listening. If you're already leading a company that's beyond Series A or a large organization in the health, dental, payer, employer sector, we would love to hear from you. Because this show got to top 100 under entrepreneurship, not because we are just creating content for the sake of content, but having the right conversation with the right leader in our space. Go to theprovidersedge.com to apply as a speaker, and would love to share your knowledge and insights.
Awesome. As we wrap up, we know people are going to want to have these conversations, whether they are in the hospital system or they are already thinking about, my ACO or other entities can also adapt. What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, Xealth.com. If you're a vendor partner and want to integrate to be prescribed out to the customers or the patients that are customer associated, we have a sandbox for APIs. But Xealth.com, Mike McSherry, Mike.McSherry at Xealth.com. Happy to engage and refer you to how we can support the vendor ecosystem and our provider partners to build a healthier life together.
Amazing. So everyone, both from the growth side, individual clinical side of leaders, as well as the vendor side, that you can contribute into the bigger healthcare ecosystem, leveraging almost like a market introduction, and how do you play into that space to help more access, more connectivity, better treatment, and reach out to Mike. And whether you're listening on our YouTube podcast or LinkedIn, make sure you comment below. What are some things that you already been contributing to this sphere of connectivity?
Yep.
And tag Mike, tag myself. We would love to continue those conversations.
Great, thank you.
What a powerful conversation with Mike today. If you've been listening all the way through, here is your quick reminder. This episode wasn't just about an acquisition. It was about what happens when years of solving real problem finally meet the right strategic opportunity. Mike gave us a behind-the-scene look on how founders create lasting value by staying focused, building trust, and designing solutions healthcare system actually need. Here are the major learning points. Number 1, big exits are built quietly before they are announced publicly. Xealth did not get acquired because of hype. They build relationship with multiple hospital systems, integrate real workflow, and solve painful operation problems. Means visibility matter, but usefulness wins. Number 2, strategic buyers purchase acceleration, not just product. Samsung didn't simply buy software. They bought a healthcare distribution bridge. Mike explains Xealth already connects health system, third-party digital health apps, RPM devices, service vendors like Uber driver, and meal delivery. That ecosystem has leverage, built what larger company would take years to replicate. Number 3, healthcare winners reduce friction for clinicians. Mike repeatedly describes embedding into the medical record so clinicians can prescribe apps and devices as actually as medication. That matters because adoption in healthcare depends on workflow fit. If doctors must change behavior dramatically, growth gets expensive. Number 4, the real work begins after the win. Many founders think acquisition equals the finish line. Well, Mike's next year vision immediately turned into operational planning, tech planning, strategy, sales, marketing. Milestones create bigger responsibilities. Number 5, founder energy matters during transition. Mike balances celebration with execution. That emotional steadiness is leadership. Your team watches how you handle success just as much as failure. So let me ask you this. Are you building features users like or infrastructure the market demands?
Thank you for listening. Remember, the positive change we're seeking starts right here with me and you. If you're a fan of the show, or if you are just having struggles or success that you're either experienced in the past or are experiencing now in the healthcare industry, these matter to all of us. I want to hear from you. Visit sabrinarunbeck.com/connect and send me a direct message. Talk soon.